Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's daily meditation session with Kairajul Lingo. Very pleased to be here again, and really lovely to see all those familiar names in the sidebar saying hi and everyone saying hello to each other. So really, really lovely. Just to let you know, there's a little bit of a change for next week. Kairajul was due to teach next week, but her availability is a little bit uncertain now. So Martin's going to be teaching for the rest of June. And then after that, we're not sure what the plan is in terms of continuing with this. Everything's kind of uncertain at the moment, and we're not thinking of pulling the plug on anything, but we're just not quite sure of how of the form of how this will continue at the moment. It kind of depends what's happening with lockdown and various other things. So this will be Kairajul's last session for at least the next. Tomorrow will be her last session for the month of June, and then we'll see how things move forward after that. So we just wanted to give you a little bit of notice about that, and Kairajul will speak a bit more about what's going to happen on tomorrow's session. But also just to let you know that she's teaching on our Sunday Sangha session on Sunday the 28th of June. So that's in Europe, that's an evening session for 90 minutes, and you can find more information about that on our website, and if you're on our email list, you'll get email reminders about that as well. So today the format will be similar, starting with a reflection, going into a meditation, and then finishing up with the chance for Q&A. If you'd like to come on screen, you're very welcome to do that. Just pop a message in the sidebar, and I can invite you on. Alternatively, if you'd rather put your question in writing, as ever, please use the Ask a Question box, which is right under the video screen there, and Kairajul will see your questions coming up and can answer those from there for you. To mention Dana, as usual, we have ongoing costs. We offer this freely so that everybody is able to access the session. No matter your means, we want everybody to be welcome and able to join, but unfortunately the sessions aren't free to run. We have ongoing costs that we need to meet, and we only get money from your contributions. We don't have funding from anywhere else. So we would be really grateful if you're able to give anything. If you're able to give a very small amount or a very big amount or somewhere in between, everything is really gratefully received. It's very easy to donate. Just click on the Dana button underneath the screen. You can pay by PayPal or credit card, or you can make a bank transfer in pounds or euros. There's two different bank accounts if you prefer to do it that way. So many thanks in advance for your generosity. Half of what you give will also go to supporting Kairajul, and the other half will go to us at Sangha Live. So much appreciation for that. So without any further ado, let me take myself off and I'll hand over to Kairajul.
Thank you so much, Caroline, as always. And good morning, greetings to everyone. It's good to be with you all again. Yes, so because of some unknowns on my side, it made more sense for Martin to teach next week. And so I just wanted to let you know before we go into today's topic that I was thinking, since it will be my last session, at least for a while with you, that I would not do much of the talk, but offer a meditation and then have more time for interaction with you all. So if you have questions, if you have reflections that you'd like to engage in together, I thought that would maybe be nice for our last time together, because I have so appreciated each of you and learned a lot from each of you, and would just love to have the time together to hear what's in your heart and what's, how you'd like my support in any question or concern that you're carrying. So, so for today, and yes, I'll be with you tomorrow. Tomorrow will be the last day. So for today, I'm drawing back on the question someone submitted earlier about how to practice, how the practice can help us in making important and difficult decisions. And this person mentioned specifically facing job loss. So this could be something that each of us is faced with in some way at this time, where there may be a number of things changing in our lives and there are difficult decisions to make. So I'll offer a few thoughts on this question, and then we'll do a meditation that will hopefully also address this experience of facing a difficulty. So a teacher from Spirit Rock, James Baraz, once offered me a helpful tool when you have to make a choice. This might not be the case for the person who asked the question, but if you are facing like an either-or situation or several options that you have to decide, he suggested visualizing yourself doing one of the things, one choice, and then noticing how your body felt, like what physical sensations were there, and then visualizing yourself in the other option, taking the other alternative and noticing what your body felt and what sensations were there. And that gives some really helpful, concrete information about maybe your intuition, your deeper wisdom about which one might be more appropriate or more beneficial. So, but sometimes it's not a choice. Sometimes things just happen and we have to figure out how to deal with them. So you might just have to accept something like job loss. And in that case, what can really be helpful is just opening to the feelings around that experience. And really pausing when something like this happens, when we're facing the loss of a job or the loss and big change in some other area of our lives, to really just feel what we're feeling in our bodies, in our hearts. The longing, the grief, the frustration, the confusion, whatever it is, the sadness, disappointment, fear, and really give them space to be here. To not push them away and say, I have to get over this as soon as possible. Yes, we do want to move on with our lives, but if we can give space to what we're experiencing, more and more space, just really it's like a field that just grows bigger and wider to hold our painful experience, then we'll actually, my experience is as we find deeper clarity and more wisdom about how to approach that difficulty. And then also when there's something that we just can't control, to resource ourselves in gratitude, to notice what's nourishing in our lives in the midst of the loss. And we had a session on this earlier in the week of being able to pay attention to the good as a way of keeping resilience in the midst of great difficulty. Also, I just wanted you all to know if this is a burning question for anyone. I did offer a teaching on Monday, May 4th. May 4th, if you go back into the recordings on the Sangha Live page and you look for Monday, May 4th, there's a teaching I gave on resting back and trusting the unknown. So I think that also would be very, would speak to this question of how do you make a difficult decision. So I just want to check with you all if you're hearing me all right. Is the sound coming through? Okay. Okay. Good. Thank you for letting me know. So there's another practice that I've also found beneficial when we're facing a difficult situation, and that is to connect with our future self. So it's who we are as a wiser, more loving being in the future. And when we do this, when we reach out to what could be called our higher self, our future self, our optimal future self, our wise self, we do this from our deep wisdom rather than from any preconceived idea of what our future self will be like or how things will unfold as we move forward in our life. So I want to offer you some reflections on how to prepare for this practice, and then we'll do it. If you're not someone who works well with imagery, that's fine. The most important thing when accessing this future self is to have a felt sense of your experience, an impression to access the tone and quality, the essence of what unfolds. And these reflections come from Nancy Napier, a wonderful teacher and trauma specialist that I got to train with, as well as the meditation I'll offer is also drawn partly from Tara Brach's meditation. But Nancy Napier offers some helpful understandings of doing this practice that we want to stay with the essence of this future self, and to be able to experience as much as we can what's happening in our body as we do that. But if that's not available, then whatever quality or element of the experience that's available to you, we want to be in touch with so that we can connect with this powerful part of ourselves. So there are certain qualities that we can really depend on in our future self. By definition, this part of us is wiser, more mature, more aware than we are in our present day self. So when we connect to this part of ourselves, we can expect that it will tend to express more self-acceptance, self-compassion, and openness towards us than we may experience for ourselves today. Sometimes in this visualization, a future self may not appear, and surprising as it may seem, that's quite fine. So our deeper wisdom knows best when we're ready to have an experience of our own potential. So even when a future self may not appear or come in this felt sense right away, we've planted the seed and conveyed the message that we're willing to move into the best possible space for ourselves. So you could ask yourself, what would my future self be like if I could be aware of this part of me, and then see what emerges. Otherwise, allow yourself to trust that your conscious awareness of the optimal future self will emerge exactly when and where it will serve you best. And so for some people, simply a felt sense of the presence of the optimal future self, or the sensation of a friendly hand on a shoulder giving support, is enough. So allow yourself to engage and experience this part of you in whatever way is natural and comfortable for you. And it's really something when we're in touch with it, we can really let it in to our body and let it nourish us. Let it become something that we can really build our own experience of wisdom and well-being on. And then we can tap into that presence at any time. When we're in a situation in our daily life and we don't know what to do, when we're facing this difficult decision of a job loss, we can drop in and ask that part of ourself that is wiser, that is stronger, what to do, and just see what arises. So before we begin the meditation, just bringing to mind some difficulty, some challenge, maybe it's an aim or a goal that you have that you'd like to achieve, a state of mind you're wanting to access, something that you're seeking. It could be a difficulty, some conflict, some tension, some misunderstanding, some addictive behavior, a loss, a grief. Or it could be something that you're really wanting to deepen in yourself or grow into or manifest more fully in your life. Just let something come to mind that's important for you right now that you're working on, trying to figure out. This is our intention as we begin the practice. So to begin, finding a comfortable position, and connecting with your body, how it's making contact with the chair, the floor. Allowing yourself to rest back in some way and really feel the support of whatever's holding you. Every time you breathe out, letting your body rest and release even more into the support of the earth. Following your next exhalation to the bottom of the breath and noticing the gap there between the out breath and the next in breath. There's nothing to do, just being there in that, in that space, in that stillness. allowing the body, the face, the arms and hands to soften and release. And now recalling what it is that you wish to explore, what question or difficulty or desire that you have that you want to realize. Now imagine that you're walking along a path somewhere in your internal landscape. Just let it emerge into your awareness as you notice the sensations in your feet as you take steps along the path. Notice whether the surface underfoot is soft or hard, smooth or textured. Paying attention to how each step moves you along the path and what that's like for you. Become aware of the surrounding landscape and environment, noticing whatever colors, shapes, and textures come into your awareness. Remember to allow the impressions to drop in. There's no need to reach for anything at all. Each step you take along the way says yes to your deep wisdom. Each step demonstrates and supports your willingness to activate and make real the potential and outcome you seek to realize. Now notice that coming towards you from up ahead on the path is your future self, your wise, your optimal self. Just allowing impressions to arise without any preconceptions or demands. Noticing what kind of person your future self appears to be. What you notice first about this person. Maybe what you as your future self are wearing, what colors, what kind of clothing that expresses this wise, loving you. Noticing what's nearby. If there's music or silence, if there's animals, pets, plants, anything that is an expression of who you are becoming. But mostly sense how your future self's wisdom expresses through their eyes, their face, their posture, where their hands are. See if you can sense energetically your own being when your heart is really awake. And noticing our own response to this future self, whatever it may be, and allowing space for however we're responding to our future self. Noticing in the body, sensations, the feelings. So now bringing our current life challenge or this decision we have to make, something that's difficult or hard, something we're working on or haven't figured out, some struggle, something we're afraid of. Bring this now to your future self, your evolved, more awakened being, to receive guidance and healing. So sharing it now from your heart, what the situation is. And open to receive a response. Maybe words or an energetic response or a message of some sort from your future self. So take some time to step inside your future self and become this part of you. Imagine that your body is the body of the future self. See through the eyes of the future self. Listen through the ears of the future self. Noticing any differences between how the optimal future self lives in their body and your present day experience. And from inside the optimal future self, this evolved being, ask to experience yourself as you will be when you've moved past this difficulty, this decision, or when you've achieved this desire you have. So, releasing expectations, preconceptions, and just noticing in a very receptive way what drops in. How will it be when all that you are wishing for now, you already have, and you've crossed the bridge of whatever challenge or struggle you're facing right now? You're on the other side of it. Really taking in how that feels in the body, how your posture will be different, how your face will be different, how the felt sense in the body will be on the other side of that. And really knowing that and claiming that in your body now, that wisdom, that empowerment. Standing in front now of your future self, this wise being, notice what you experience if you open your heart to this part of you. If you allow yourself to say yes to a relationship with the potential inherent in your future self, you're saying yes to allowing it to become your own wisdom and compassion and strength. If it feels okay to you now, allow yourself to walk with your future self along the path. Know that this wiser part of you has already made the journey you are in the process of working through now. And they will guide and support you every step of the way. So just allowing a felt sense of your future self's presence to fill you. This real sense of an interbeing with them. And notice how your body feels as this presence fills you, how your heart feels, sensing how the expression on your own face changes when you're manifesting that awake heart, what your eyes are like, your posture, how it changes when you let this consciousness fill you. Maybe your hands soften, or there's some gesture that is expressive of that awakening. Sense how you can include what's arising in your current life, that it belongs, and you can make space for it with love. Letting yourself get really familiar with this. When this heart is really awake, it's like this. So sense in the situation that you brought up the different possibilities of responding when you're connected and trusting the presence of your awakened heart. From Meister Eckhart, I returned to the river. I returned to the mountains. I begged to wed every object and creature. And when they accepted, God was ever present in my arms. And he did not say, "Where have you been?" For then I knew my soul, every soul, has always held God. So close by sensing how this very heart, the awakened heart, the empty, fearless, radiant heart holds the world. That all the waves of life, all creatures, all beings belong in this heart. Feel our prayer that all beings know their belonging. That all beings everywhere can trust their very essence as loving presence. That all beings live as loving presence. That there be great and natural peace everywhere. May all beings awaken and be free. So welcome back. And slowly transition now, and if you have questions, you can write them and ask a question, or you can come on screen and ask a question. Or you can also share in the chat any experiences from this practice, if you wish. It's good to read your experiences. Good, good. Yes, the quote was from Meister Eckhart, and I think it was from When I Was a Forest. I think that's the name. We can put it with the recording, so you can go on to the website and see the quote. Good to read your experiences, feeling so safe and in peace. Empty, fearless, radiant heart, so beautiful. My future self was fully awake and present with whatever had unfolded. I felt such peace in this connection. Others say, I can't say I felt the wise self, but I definitely saw her. Yeah. Mm. Mm. And so some of you had scary experiences of a future me that's dark, alone, and crazy. Or a path that went dark and left you fearful that death was there. So I think it's good to not try to interpret what the symbols or the images might mean. They could mean a lot of different things. But it's okay if that fear is there, to just be with that fear, but not to necessarily let the rational mind take over and say, well, that's what that means, that I had this image. But just to hold that with a little bit of spaciousness. And also even with a kind of maybe uncomfortable future self, which is common, that can be the case, that we're uncomfortable with the kind of changes that we may manifest because they're not familiar to us now. But even with that discomfort, someone shares about with the struggle of not having a job, the answer was a sense of it doesn't matter, enjoy the nature, enjoy life. So even with the uncomfortable future self, there was some wisdom coming through. And for the fear that's there for some of you that are expressing with a future self that wasn't so comforting, I would say to hold that with kindness, with care. It's not, it's allowing what's in our consciousness to arise, and it's not a prediction or a something to get too attached to, as this is, what it is or is going to be. It's what your consciousness is bringing up now as your future self, and that may change in a week or a month, right? So it's what your mind offered you today, and it's not permanent. So just holding all of it lightly. Some beautiful other sharings of the wisdom that you touched. Some questions here. Elena asks, please could you say more about our future self? I didn't understand how to imagine this future self. Sure. So it's really like potential, the potentiality. Okay, so a bigger picture is in quantum science, and also in Buddhism, there's an understanding of time being very non-linear. So the past can be accessed in the present moment. The future can also be accessed in the present moment. And in quantum physics, quantum science, there is, time isn't linear. In experiments, things happen that aren't governed by the usual way of time that we're used to in our clock time. And so it's possible to access the wisdom of our future self now. So the way I relate to this in my own life is that when I was a nun and I was feeling pulled to leave the monastery, as I look back now, I think of, well, maybe that was my future self calling to me, saying, hey, you have other things you need to be doing, that life is asking you to do something else now. So this is just my idea, but for me, it makes sense that there, when we get pulled in certain ways in our life, it could be some future, aspect of ourselves that has the wisdom already, that has the intuition already, that's coming to let us know, you need to be going this way, or try it like that, right? So when we do this meditation, we're opening to the potential for what we might become. We all have, if you think of how far we've come from who we were in the past, you can see a lot of possibilities for transformation, for deepening wisdom, for growing our hearts, right? So if we project that into the future, we can see, oh, if I keep going on this path, there's much more to be discovered, much more to be understood. And that part of ourself is already available of course, in our visualization, in our intuition, in our imagination, you could say, but also in terms of, just like in Buddhism, we say every person has the Buddha nature. It's like we're getting in touch with that capacity to be more wise, more compassionate, more loving, more able to see reality as it is. This is the water delivery truck coming by. So that's what the practice is to really affirm that these qualities in us can grow, and they can become accessible to us now. Just as the Buddha is accessible to us now, just as all the bodhisattvas, the great beings of compassion, of wisdom, of strength, of determination, all those great beings, they're in us. They're in us, and we can connect with them and receive energy from them, just like our ancestors are in us, and we can receive guidance and wisdom from our ancestors. So it's really about opening up our consciousness to be in touch with the many ways we can nurture and resource ourselves with qualities that are they really exist in us, and they can be developed. And as we affirm that we know that we can grow into this wiser future self, we're actually we're doing it in the present moment. We're creating those conditions for us to become that future wise and loving self. So I hope that's helpful to you in your question. And then there's another question saying, I hope this isn't a naive question, but why an empty heart rather than an open heart? Yeah. So I think they're just similar words for the same experience, or facets of the same experience. So an empty heart is a heart that's not, it's spacious, right? It's vast, it's immense. It's not crowded and cluttered and tight with, emotions or struggles, but there's this spaciousness, this emptiness. And if openness resonates more for you, then you can use the word openness. The emptiness is a different nuance of openness that allows for a kind of limitless expanse, where there's no getting caught, no getting stuck. It's this real freedom. Yeah. So we resonate with different words, and that's fine. So I'll read some of your other reflections. Very peaceful sensation that I'm on the right way and that I will be able to get the good, whatever choice I make. I feel very strong presence of my future wise self. Lovely. Someone else, it lifted my being this gray morning. Being older meant seeing a future self was very difficult and rather sad. I had to just imagine another light being. Yeah, that's fine, Midge. This sense of whatever evokes that sense of you in your fullest expression. If it's a light being, that's also part of who you are. Yeah. Even though I'm old, to see a future self which is even older, plus wiser and braver. Yes. Yes. Others share, thank you. I felt that quite emotionally, and some buried wisdom which surfaced, that you can't be responsible for another's happiness. Acceptance that things will unfold as they should without pressure. Lovely. If anyone wants to come on and ask a question, we have a couple more minutes, or if you have another question you want to write. So it's good to read your experiences. Someone writes, I danced with my future wise self. She was so ground, yet light, and she let me know I cannot control others. I should let go of others' responses and just do what calls to my heart. Thank you. Thank you, Kuhil, for sharing the insight that you cried and you realized that you see the way you see your future self is maybe how you see yourself right now. That's an important insight. Yeah. Sometimes we project, and that's normal also. And we can be very compassionate with that tendency in us. Someone says, I felt a strong sense of my future self. She was stronger and lighter and freer than my current self, and welcomed me with open hands and arms. Beautiful. A golden, calm, strong self was there to accompany me in transitioning to a new living space. Oh, thank you for that. I'm going to be in the same boat next week, moving, so I will also use your example to draw on that wisdom. Yeah. Oh, there is a question here. Okay. This is a question about the birds in the background. So someone loved this guided meditation. I'm curious, what is the bird who accompanies your voice so often? You know, I haven't learned the names of all the birds here, but they are amazing birds. Right outside my window, let's see, there's two trees. One's a guava tree, and then there's a curry leaf tree. Curry leaf, that you take out the curry leaves, you fry them in the oil when you cook food here in Sri Lanka. And what's lovely to watch on this tree are very big birds, like bigger than a crow, like a hawk size big. And they have red eyes. There's a couple different kinds of birds that have red eyes, and they love to eat the curry leaf berries. And there's even, the toucan birds, those big birds with the very long beaks with stripes on their beaks. In the US, they're used in cereal box advertising. Anyway, they come and they eat. There's also a custard apple tree next to the curry leaf tree. So I don't know the names of the birds, but there are bird sounds here I've never heard anywhere else. So I'm glad that you enjoy them along with my voice. I'll have to let the birds know that they're being broadcast all over the world. So this is from Katarzyna. The most difficult and fearful moment was to express my desire towards the future self. Once I did, the encounter unraveled smoothly. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, it can be quite a tender moment of saying, this is what I'm holding, this is what I need help with, or where I need guidance. We might not know how the future self will respond, and so maybe there's some apprehension, but I'm glad that it unfolded well after that. So Stephanie writes, my future self had so much compassion for me. She was graceful, relaxed, and happy. It was incredible to feel so known and accepted exactly as I am, even with my struggles and intense emotions. Beautiful. Thank you for all of you sharing whatever experience you had. There's no right or wrong, better or worse kind of experience. So I just encourage you, if you have some curiosity about this, to keep practicing it, because it might, if you had a more uncomfortable experience with it today or a more confusing, you might see if in a week or so, if something else arises, or in a month, it could be something you come back to and that will shift and open in different ways. I'm so appreciating all of your loving messages about the meditation or about just our time together. And I just want you to know I have so much regard and affection for all of you. I really have appreciated this time of being together and offering ourselves, offering our practice. I've so appreciated your commitment, your dedication to come every morning or many mornings, however it ended up for you. So we'll be back together again tomorrow, but think if there's some questions you'd like to ask, we'll make more time for those. I think I won't give much of a talk, but I'll just lead a meditation, and then the rest can be just time for us to connect. And if you want to come on screen or put a question in the chat. So, and I do want you to know that every time after the session ends, I stay on and I go back and I read through all of your messages, so I don't miss a single one, because they really nourish me and fill me up. So I'm sending you all so much love and care and appreciation, and we'll close today, and I will see you again tomorrow. Take good care.